I can't believe it. It's almost time to go back to school. The summer didn't. Yeah, it hardly existed, although it was pretty hot. But
we don't even want to think about them going back to school because it shortens the summer. But we have to.
Yeah, I tell you, and there's a lot to learn about going back to school, I think. And with us is Dave Gervino again, the Office of Emergency Management.
With all the good ideas and good
safety tips on going back to school.
Yes.
I mean, what kind of safety tips are there going back to school? You get on the bus and you go back to school, right?
Well, there is more to it than that.
I think it involves more people than just the kids getting on the bus.
Absolutely. You want to involve school officials as well as parents and the students, and talk to everyone about different emergencies that can happen both at school, on the way to and on the way from school, and have some plans in place so that if something were to happen, your children know what to do.
Well, they're riding a bus a lot, and some of the things that cross my mind is, do all bus drivers have some sort of two-way communication with wherever they're talking to? And if something happens on that bus, if a kid falls, somebody gets hurt on the bus, what do? Do they pull over? What's the procedure for that? Or could they call
for some kind of help?
Yeah, different bus companies handle situations differently. Most of them do have either two-way radios or protocols they use with cell phones to notify their dispatch as well as to be able to contact 911 in cases of emergencies.
So if something like that did happen, they would be able to pull over and even use their own phone for an emergency, people to come and find out what it is.
Definitely, and actually a lot of bus companies too require that their drivers be trained in CPR and first aid so that they can render immediate assistance while waiting for an ambulance to show up if necessary.
But the driver is the only adult that's in charge of all these children on the bus?
In many cases, yes.
That kind of goes against everything else we have as far as child care.
Yeah, there's a pretty big student to driver ratio. You know, some bus companies and some schools might have bus monitors, additional people, additional adults who ride the bus. But that's why it's really important to talk to your children about school bus safety.
And sit in their seat and stay there till the bus stops.
That's right. That's right.
Because that's important that they sit still, not standing where they could fall.
Right.
Everything's hard. If they fall, everything is hard. They could really hurt themselves.
Right. You know, every few years there's kind of some controversy that comes up regarding seatbelts on buses. That some people are very big proponents that we should have seatbelts, and then other people say, well, no, because if we had to evacuate the bus quickly because of a fire or something, you'd have to get everyone out of the seatbelts.
And the little children, you'd have to go do it.
Exactly. You know? So that's why buses have the higher seats, the padded seats, to provide a little bit of additional protection there.
And being that it's a bigger vehicle, I almost feel that's safer than a small car in some accidents, you know, that should happen.
How about high school now, high schoolers? What's the procedure with them, and what kind of safety steps should they know about being on a bus? I mean, they've done it for the last 8 years. Already now they're in high school, they're a little older.
And they should be more responsible, I think. Being that they're high school, they should be...
Well, you'd hope so.
Yeah, they should be taught to be more responsible.
Right, and high school students, we have to deal with both riding the bus as well as driving to school. A lot of high school students, they turn 16 and they get a license and they start driving to school. So we want to make sure that they're following the rules of the road. We want to make sure that everyone's aware of school children being out, you know, crossing the streets, be aware of school zones. You know, all summer long we've coasted through school zones without paying it a second thought.
Because everything is closed up.
Exactly, but now there's going to be children crossing the streets, walking to school, walking home from school, so we want to make sure that we're careful and very observant when driving in school zones.
So this applies not just to the students going to school, but to the drivers who drive through school zones on their way to work or wherever they go, or parents dropping off their kids. There's a certain, I think, certain rules they have to follow to make it safe, because there's kids getting in and out of cars, and these are younger children usually. So there's a special route I think they have to take for the schools. Definitely,
definitely. School bus safety is very important. And there's actually a lot of different issues that we discuss when we talk about school safety. You know, if we look back to last month in July when we had power outages from, some people were without power from Sunday all the way to Thursday. Well, imagine if that storm had come through during the school year in the middle of the school day, knocking power out. You know, do parents know what the plan is for their school in terms of early dismissal, what's going to happen to their children if there's long power outages or some other type of emergency where they're going to be evacuated from the school?
And if there's early dismissal, a lot of those parents work.
That's right.
So parents aren't at home. How would you dismiss these children? Where would they go? So that would be the plan, huh?
And that's what parents need to talk to their educators and school officials about, is find out what is the plan if this were to happen during the school year. What would happen to our children? What would you expect from us? Where would they be taken? Who could we contact to find out what's going on?
Yeah.
And some of those questions
important.
probably could be answered by someone from the school district that I think maybe wouldn't be a bad idea to have on at some point, because they have their procedure that they're going to have to go through.
But I know the schools usually have an emergency number in case a child gets sick in school and they know the parent is home. There is an alternate number they could call.
That's right, and schools are required actually by state law to have emergency plans in place, and they actually on an annual basis meet with local police, local fire, as well as emergency management coordinators to go over and update these plans. What we find in a lot of cases though is that parents are not aware of the plans for their children's school. That's why we really encourage parents now at the start of the school year to take a few moments to talk to your child's teachers about the emergency plans for their schools so parents know what to expect if something were to happen.
Well, you're bringing up the power outage. I never thought about it. Luckily, when we had our power outage in July, that it wasn't a school day.
That's right.
Because that would really be chaos.
It would make things a lot more complicated. Even at here in Addison, at the police department was without power. They were on generator power. Mm-hmm. Well, not all schools have generators, so they might not be able to still stay in session. And that's why it's important just to know, not just for power outages, but for any type of an emergency, what's the plan for your children? Because when your children are in that school, you're depending on the principal of the school and the teachers to take care of them, to keep them in a safe environment. So it's really important that you work together with them to know what the plans are.
Yes.
The idea is to have a plan, and that's not only for the students in the schools, but also for your own children, to note where they should be if something happens. I think we've talked about this before. To get out of the house, they have to meet at a certain spot, and they're supposed to be responsible to have their little sister with them or whatever. Something already established, talked about, and even practiced is something that they should do.
Even at home, they should learn it from home. Not just at school, but I think the parents should teach the children. I'm the type that I don't want to depend. You can always depend on yourself. Then you know you've done it.
That's right.
So don't just hope that they'll tell them at school. Of course they will, but I think a child should learn this from home as well, as what to do. Just like you say, the older child pick up your younger siblings and make sure they're okay. Stay together. You know.
Exactly. You want them to know. You want your children to know. If there's an emergency and you have to leave school and the cell phone systems are down because maybe they're overloaded or there's a lot of power outages, so cell phones aren't working because the cell towers aren't working, how are we going to get into contact with each other? Where are we going to meet up? Have those plans made in advance.
Yeah, and have a meeting spot.
That's right. It'll not only will it keep everyone safe, but it'll also give everyone a lot of peace of mind because you'll know we have a plan for this. We've discussed it before. I know what to do. I know where to go.
Yes.
And that's really critical, and it's an easy thing to do ahead of time.
Well, we've done fire drills, but we've never, I don't know if they've ever done drills like this in case of a power outage. Just because of the weather, it could happen anytime, really.
How did things go for July, for all the power that we lost in the different communities? Was that hectic as heck, I can imagine?
It sure was. We saw a lot of people were without power from Sunday morning on the 1st of July when the storm hit all the way through Thursday. And we saw a lot of towns.
It's a long time.
It is a long time. We saw a lot of towns working together, providing mutual aid and removing trees and debris from the streets. Just in overtime expenses and debris removal alone, the DuPage County entities spent over $3 million. So there was a lot of damage.
We don't think of those things. As residents, we don't think of those things. No. But I do think that here in Addison, they did a great job of cleaning up, the trees, the fallen trees and branches that were all over the streets and everything.
Now, what is ComEd doing about perhaps not having such a great power outage happen again? Are they doing anything?
ComEd, yes. Actually, this in July, that was the first time that Commonwealth Edison operated their Joint Operations Center from our DuPage County facility. So we worked really closely with Addison. For example, Addison provided us a list of long-term care facilities, nursing homes, and other critical infrastructure-related facilities, the police department that was without power. Mm-hmm. So we could prioritize those and get them restored to power as quickly as possible.
So there's a little practice, actually, for them to do this, and they've actually done it now. So they should be very aware and ready to do it if something like that happens.
Well, that was like a wake-up call.
Yeah.
Really, we learn from all these experiences, so the next time it happens, it'll even run smoother. We'd know what to do.
That's right, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Dave. And
Thank you.
I don't know what's in store for September, but we'll be seeing you pretty soon.
Sounds great, thank you.
Okay.